What do you think of the kickoff return in action now that you got to see it in regular season?
Yeah, between our game and then the rest of the league, you saw a little bit more variety in terms of the return concepts. And you saw kind of how people were going to use their personnel a little bit, just in terms of matchups. So there was definitely a little bit more variety than there was in the preseason. I think you're still seeing the same issues in terms of ball handling, in terms of block destruction. So it's a lot of good tape to show our guys in terms of improving them with, obviously ball security and then improving the block mechanics and improving the block destruction.
It seems like there's just so much more risk to asking somebody to return it from the kickoff perspective. So do you think we're just eventually going to get back to how it was, which is boom it out of the back of the end zone, take it at the 30, and we're good?
To your point, there is a little bit of risk because you're seeing that I remember last week one of the questions was there's not as many layers, so there's no security blanket for somebody to overcome maybe a misfit by a coverage guy. So if you scheme it up correctly and guys truly understand where they fit in the scheme, there still are elements to covering kicks because there's a momentum aspect to it when you do cover kicks properly. When that defense takes a field and they see a tackle inside, probably now the 25, whereas the old rule was inside the 20, I think that defense takes the field with some juice, And obviously you guys know in our stadium, especially when it gets a little bit more weathered, kicking a touchback won't be an option at some point, So I think for us and across the league, people still have to work on covering kicks, and especially with the teams here in the Northeast.
You almost anticipate, because there have been rumblings that the league will see that touchback number go up, and then all of a sudden now the ball's moving back because they want to take those they still want to have that purpose of making it a live play for you guys. Is that almost one of those things where we got to do what we got to do now and just worry about whatever comes next as far as this rule goes?
Yes, definitely. If the NFL changes the rules in terms of that, then the strategy potentially changes. What are the consequences to kicking a touchback now? I don't know. We're going to play it as it is right now, and then obviously figure out what our best strategy is. We start to trickle down more and more in the season.
What did Ihmir Smith-Marsette show you in his tryout, and whatever you saw on film that you wanted him even here for a tryout?
I didn't realize, how big he was until I saw him in person. He also has real speed. Like real speed. And obviously he scored in this league before, so to see that type of production and to have him here is awesome. We'll continue to work him and continue to make sure that he's the best option in terms of securing the ball, which is number one priority for us.
How big a curveball was Gunner getting hurt pregame? Obviously you wouldn't have left yourself in that spot if you thought there was a chance that was going to happen. So what kind of curveball?
Yeah, it was unfortunate that it did happen in pregame, and you always have contingency plans, not just at the returner position, but at any position, like who is your next person in. But it was unfortunate, but not to say that it's our job to get other guys ready in depth positions. You're not necessarily carrying a huge roster like you are in preseason, so the options become a little bit more limited, but it just shows you that these guys, and it's our job to make sure that they're prepared to go in and execute if their number gets called.
What made Slayton the next man up?
He showed us the best ability to make smart decisions and to safely secure the ball. Obviously, we felt convicted as a staff that he was our next best option.
In 2020 hindsight, what decision does he make once the ball bounces?
In that situation, what ended up happening was the punter basically hit the ball outside of his foot. So you're not getting the traditional hang time where a returner can truly get under it. So the ball, if you just took a look at the end zone copy of the film, initially looked like it was going to his left, and then it curved hard right because it was off the side of the punter's foot. So when that nose started to come down, it came down with a lot less hang. So he's in kind of like a middle point where, do I try and catch it, do I not? But the second that ball hits the ground, we just need to get away from it and make sure our punt return unit's away to ensure that that ball doesn't hit one of our players, or we're potentially fumbling around with it. And then, if it gets a roll, it gets a roll in that situation. We just got to make a smarter decision. That's something we obviously talked about.
Why did you settle on the running backs as your kickoff returner, Eric Gray? And what did you see from them, and what went into that decision?
Earlier in the year and then during practice, we've seen good catch mechanics with them, with their ability to catch it forward and be able to track some of those low liners. The run skill is obviously a huge benefit. Obviously those guys are used to having the ball in their hand. They're used to understanding the importance of ball security. And you see that kind of with their collision balance, their ability to navigate through the coverage, since, I think a lot of us would agree that return is looking more like offensive run game. So the vision of those running backs and their ability to see which gaps open up and which way to press stuff, those are all important for any return. But running backs, it just so happened that they had the best opportunity with our team to be able to show success with that.
Has Keelan, what'd you think of his week 1 performance and his camp? Because before you were here, obviously, consistency was something he struggled with. It was kind of boom and bust. How has he performed so far under your watch?
I thought Jamie's had a great camp. And then obviously to see him have that type of success in game 1, which I do think he had a really good game for us. When you have a punt coverage unit that nets 46-2, that's going to put you in the top of the league. And that starts with a snap with Casey Kreider, and then it goes into the punt with Jamie. And Jamie was able to put his foot on the ball and was really able to flip the field multiple times. I know the one that stands out in everybody's mind, which was an awesome play by multiple people, was when we pinned the opponent inside on the 1 yard line. And in that situation, the touch of a punter's foot is critical because he's on the plus 40 yard line and he's used to hitting the punt a little bit further, and you're almost flirting with disaster, right? Because if you kick a touchback, you're going to net 20 yards. So, he trusts his preparation. He's a true pro. He prepares the right way. And it was really cool. One aspect that you guys saw, obviously, the success of that play and the genuine celebration for the teammates, which, I'm just like replaying it back in my mind. But on Friday, that same exact play happened in practice. And the same thing happened, but now BFW pinned him in. And you just saw everybody rallying to BFW to celebrate that. Well, it took a bounce, all this, that, and then Ty Summers was the one who initially tapped it back in, and then it was hot potato after that. But it just goes to show you that, they prepared for that moment and they executed in that situation. And to go back to your point, Jamie has done an awesome job in terms of handling his business.
How much is
Last
that
one.
instinctive from your guys, and how much of it is stuff that you drill and you coach? Because one misstep and the play's over and they're in the end zone.
Yeah, it's our job as coaches to try and put him in as many situations that's close to the game as possible. And there's different ways to put him in that situation. It could be in practice, it could be in the film room, it could be in walkthroughs, and then showing them when their opportunity presents itself, they want to be ready. So there is an element of instincts. But number one, it's knowing the rules, which the offseason was a huge component of that. And then number two, the execution part of things comes to life. So in practice, drilling that and understanding, hey, if BFW wasn't here, you got to be ready for this opportunity. And then being able to gather that information, you mix the instincts, the knowledge that they learned, and then the execution, you get plays like that, and hopefully we're getting a lot more.